Awakened Living is a 21st century movement for people who consider themselves spiritual but not religious, who have a deep hunger for connected community and a divine impulse for personal and global transformation. Our mission is to encourage and inspire the awakening of human consciousness. Good evening. Welcome to Awakened Living Television. My name is TJ Woodward. I'm the host of your show. I'm also the spiritual director of the Awakened Living spiritual community in San Francisco. I would like to invite you to please join us. You can find information about us at awakenedlivingsf.org. I felt called to start with that for whatever reason. Welcome to our show. I am so delighted this evening to have Susanne Wilson with us. She is, our last guest on the show, if you didn't watch, was the author Roberta Grimes, who is incredible, one of my kindred spirits here on this planet, who wrote the book Liberating Jesus. She recommended Susanne come on the show because she says she is the best medium on the planet today. And I believe that to be true because even though we just met, I have an incredible instant bond and connection with her. And I also want to say this is our 75th episode of Awakened Living Television. So let's celebrate that. I don't know, for those of you who are into numerology, I'm sure 75 means something really wonderful. So let's get right into our show. Susanne, welcome.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here, and congratulations on the 75th show, TJ.
Thank you so much. Before we jump into our conversation or dive right in or settle in, whatever it is, please take a couple of minutes to let our viewers know about you, a little bit about you and your work.
Well, my name is Susanne Wilson, as you said, and I'm known as the Carefree Medium because I live and work out of Carefree, Arizona. I didn't start out wanting to be a medium. In fact, in my earlier years, I was ashamed of the spiritual abilities that I had. I wanted to fit in. But life has a way of getting your attention. I had a wake-up call a few years ago, and now I've developed my abilities to the point where I'm an intuition development expert. I teach people how to meet and establish a spiritual rapport with their team of guides and angels and how to get in touch with their own loved ones in the dead community.
Wow. Well, I'm excited to hear more about that. I'm wondering if you'd be willing to share what that life-changing event was. Are you willing to tell us?
Sure. It was a near-death experience. I was at an allergy specialist's office, and you know how they punch your arms and they put those allergens in and they look to see if there are bumps. So, okay, that one you're allergic, that one you're not. And it was my second visit to the doctor's office, so they had upped the ante. I was getting stronger doses. I started feeling dizzy. My throat was just closing up like a book. And I told the technician, I don't feel well. And so she said, I'll give you some more air conditioning. Let me go adjust the AC. And I said, no, get a doctor. I don't feel well. The next thing I know, my throat is honking like a goose. Wow. I thought, I'm just going to die here. And then everything went into slow motion. 2 doctors came into the room, and I noticed they were moving very, very slowly. And they looked flat and shiny and one-dimensional. Not real at all. What was real is what happened to me. I stepped backwards out of my body, and I was floating a little bit above, observing this scene, when I heard incredibly beautiful music, like angel voices all at once, becoming instruments. And then I felt arms around me, and I couldn't see whose arms that it was, but it was my grandfather, my preacher grandfather, who was also my mentor when I was a kid. And I just wanted to keep going with that. But I could see in the room they were preparing an injection. And when they jabbed it into me, I was vacuum sucked right back into my body, very, very painful. And I'll tell you, it was a letdown to come back. But right before I came back, I heard, your work hasn't started yet. And later I would think about that and go, what do you mean? I've worked so hard. I've got a bachelor's and a master's. I've got a great corporate job. I think I've been working pretty hard, folks. But what happened, TJ, is after that experience, I couldn't shut off my abilities. I could see spirit people, angels, auras everywhere, and it was very distracting. So I had to go back and study how to tune in, tune out.
Wow, there's so many different directions we could take this at this moment. I want to first acknowledge the power of a near-death experience because everyone that I have met that's had that experience is a profoundly, there's a quality to their essence that is very different. And it's something that's very clear to me. When I hear them talk about the near-death experience, I'm like, that makes sense, because there's a gentleness and a presence about people that I think when they've pierced that veil, as we say, into a different realm and understand there's a greater reality and than what we call reality, something shifts dramatically. And that, of course, looks different for everyone. I'm so grateful that happened to you, as strange as that may sound. I know that you get what I'm saying.
I am too.
Because you're here to do this profound work, if we call it that. So I'm curious, because I know Roberta Grimes, who was on our show last week, called you the best medium on the planet, which is pretty impressive because she probably knows a lot of mediums. So what do you do in terms of like a practical, like for our viewers, like what would it look like if someone were to come see you? How do you work with people? How do you assist them?
Well, that's awfully kind of Roberta, but I will say that I don't compare myself to anyone else. I don't compete with anyone, and I want us all to succeed. If you have a reading with me, what I will do first is have your first name, and I write it on a piece of paper about 15 minutes before our appointment, whether it's by phone or at my office, and most of them are by phone with people worldwide. I will start speaking to your team, and I'll say, okay, TJ's team, here I am. I'm the medium. You must be from the white light. You must have TJ's best interests at heart. I can see, hear, and feel you. Use whichever way you need to impress upon me the information you want to give today. And then I introduce them to my spiritual team, my guide and my guardian angel, who will assist with the process. And then they're in charge after that. I have no control over who comes through, how long they connect, or what they want to talk about.
So it could be spirit guides, it could be people that have departed that we want to reconnect with. It could show up in a lot of different ways. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, but they have the client's best interests at heart. And they may want to talk about things that the client doesn't necessarily want to hear. And that's where diplomacy skills come in handy. Yeah, it's different every single time.
Yeah, wow. So I have a sense that at least some people, when they start hearing about all of this, because you hear people say, oh, come on. And I just think, that's not where I land, but I like to put a voice to that. Like, what about the naysayers? What do you say to them, if anything?
I'm not here to change anybody's beliefs. If your beliefs make you happy, your life is working, you're content, good for you. I'm here for the people whose hearts and minds are open and they want to explore. And I encourage a degree of skepticism, but it's an open-minded skepticism to where you're really paying close attention to the details.
I love that. I just had to ask that because, that's my perspective as well, because it's all welcome. It's all, because what we know is every perspective is absolutely correct. Because it's what creates what we call reality. And that's what's fascinating to me. So as my consciousness has shifted, what I called reality shifted, right? So like whatever I am believing, and that's a kind of a strange word, but whatever my perspective is actually what I experience in the world. And so I'm very, very fascinated to, if you could share, I know you don't want to talk about particular clients, but is there any story that comes to mind that was really powerful or profound that you saw your ability to connect in this way assist people in their lives?
Oh, there's so many. One that's coming to mind right now, and I just mentally said to the guys, which one? Which one? A very young boy, about 7 or 8 years old, was coming through to his mom. And she was sobbing. It was very emotional, and I do a lot of readings for parents who are grieving. And he said, Mommy, I see everything with everybody. And he says, I watch you on TV. And at first his mother was a little startled, like, my son's in the TV? And he explained, no, they have a room for me where I go, and there are these TVs, and I can turn on the mommy channel, the daddy channel, my sister channel, and I know what's going on in life. And then he gave specific evidence. She's like, there's no way that you could know that. And I'm like, I don't know anything about your personal life. It's your son that's coming through. And then from there, it started to build where I was shown what the dead community has to do to communicate with us. You don't die and become all-knowing. They actually go to classes and trainings to learn how to enter TJ's dream, to give him a message, to fuse their energy with a little bird or a butterfly to give you a sign. So they're working really hard to get their information through. And what they want to say is, I'm okay, I'm doing great, I love you, and I am still part of your life. It's a wonderful synergy to be able to present those messages to people, but I want to tell people they're already getting their own messages and signs, symbols, synchronicities, dream visits.
It's more about us opening up to seeing that, right?
And being observant. And you shouldn't have to need somebody to validate it for you, right? If it feels real, it's loving, it's their personality. Oh, our song played on the radio at the moment I was thinking of them. Don't go and broadcast that to the whole world and ask them to validate it for you. That's the worst thing in the world, because people are only too happy to rain on your parade and say, oh, that's nice, honey. I'm so glad you think that was something from spirit. People have their own fears. And sometimes they think, if you're telling them about a wonderful reading or a sign that you got, they're thinking, why don't I get those? No, they're not paying attention. So these things are sacred. They're sacred experiences to be treasured and held close to your own heart.
Yeah, and I work in the mental health field. You could get diagnoses for these things, right? Even though the experience is very real. I want to switch gears a little bit because I've heard that you have a book coming out, and I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the book itself, what the topic is, and what your journey was in writing the book and creating this.
Well, it's not my book, but it is the dead community's book. And what they have said is, over and over, that they don't have a process that people will understand how to communicate with them from their point of view. They want descriptions of what they're doing to communicate, how they want the people on earth to raise their vibration and raise their consciousness to be able to have effective communication so that we can live our lives with more calm and inner peace. And they're really a how-to, do your own spirit communication, how to meet your guides, how to validate that it's real and not just your imagination. To your point, people could say you're just crazy. Right. And then how to use them. Because, the Creator has given every single person their own spiritual team of the guides, angels, and sometimes the loved ones in the light will be part of your team too. Because the Creator gave us this gift of free will, but He's also very loving, and He knows that you just volunteered to go to the toughest classroom in the galaxy, Earth. And He says, okay, so here's your spiritual team. Well, most of the time, they just work behind the scenes. And they're the unsung heroes of the afterlife. They're wanting to come forward now because of the shift in consciousness on the earth. They're wanting to be known. And my book is going to help people make that connection.
Wow, and I'm with you with the shift in consciousness. I everywhere I turn, and I think part of it is as I stepped into my own evolution and my own saying yes really to the calling, which by the way I said no to for quite some time because my ego didn't want that to be true.
Right.
Once I said yes to that, and my whole world fell apart, and I could emerge, in knowing that the truth. Everywhere I go, the conversation is about this powerful shift happening in consciousness. I'm wondering if you'd be willing to do something. It's okay if not. I'm wondering if there is any spirit guide or any presence here with us right now that has a message.
I picked up on the way here and even on the way to the hotel yesterday, an older gentleman that was pointing to his chest and talking about a squeezing of the heart. So it felt like a sudden congestive heart failure or a rupture in the heart that's connected to you. And this would have been a living person, not dad, but a father figure like a grandfather or an uncle. And then there's also a guide that's with you right now giving me the name Michael. And I've heard Michael ever since I sat down here and wants to be known to you as being someone that is your healing guide that helps you to help others to heal their hearts, but started with you first as you healed your own heart. And that's what's happening right now.
Wow, thank you for that. Wow, I'm just, I'm really moved by your absolute commitment to this. And I don't mean commitment in maybe the sense that we use it in the world, like, I'm driven and committed to this, but like there's something really powerful when we're in the presence of someone who has really deeply said yes, to this calling. And, sometimes it takes a near-death experience. I had not a physical near-death experience, but a death of everything that I had built up in my egoic structure. And when that all died, there was an opportunity to walk through this doorway in a new way. And so I'm wondering if you could in any way speak to that of, how, if anyone is watching right now that may have the calling, but maybe is in that point of saying no or maybe, because how it emerged for me was a very clear message. And, I was involved with Unity, and every Sunday it was like the message is, to be the minister, to be the minister. And I kept saying no for a long time. Is there anything you could offer someone who maybe is hearing this deeper calling?
Know that you cannot fail. You cannot fail. You have to follow your heart. We're each here on earth to give and receive as much unconditional love, compassion, and forgiveness as we possibly can. And you can serve wherever you are right now. It starts with having that compassion for yourself. Take care of yourself first. On the airlines, they say put on your own oxygen mask first before you help another. And then being able to reach out to other people in small ways or large ways. When you get to the afterlife, the dead community makes you famous and treats you like a celebrity based on how much compassion you have given in your life, not how much money, not how much fame. I walked away from a secure corporate job and a 401k and all of that and just trusted, okay, use me. I'm your instrument. I'm willing to be of service. And the bills do get paid. Everything works out. Don't let fear hold you back. As Wayne Dyer used to say, don't die with your music still in you.
Oh, yes. That's beautiful. Let's talk a little bit more about forgiveness, because I think, in my book, Conscious Being, I open the chapter about abundance with forgiveness, because in my estimation, first of all, most of us, when we hear the word abundance, and at least a lot of us in our culture think we're talking about making and amassing material possessions and money. I'm talking about a real connection with Source, knowing that that Source is infinite, and therefore we are infinite, and knowing that at every moment we can actually open up to this greater abundance that we are. I started it with forgiveness because I think as long as I'm holding on to the idea of rightness and wrongness and separation, that I can't fully step into it. And I'm wondering if there's any message you have about forgiveness that's coming through right now for you.
Forgiveness is like tying weights to your legs and then jumping into the water, in the deep water, and then saying, why did they put me here? It's all their fault. When you have the ability to free yourself, one of the things that I do, just the very second something is bothering me, somebody cuts me off on the freeway or whatever, is I see that situation, tie a mental balloon to it, and let the balloon just float away and let go. On the way here today, got lost for about 2 minutes and thought, okay, well, there's a reason for getting lost here today. Maybe we avoided a car accident or something. But there are huge forgiveness lessons that we come here for, like having someone abuse us, having someone take away what belongs to us. And those lessons are pre-planned. They're part of our own life plans that we came here to experience. And so the question to ask is, what am I learning from this experience? And what do I gain from holding on to my anger, my fear? Nothing. It's poison. Just release and let go. It's the highly evolved souls that come back here on earth for the toughest lessons of all. And my hat's off to them. The addiction lesson, very, very tough lesson. That's holy work. The loss of a child, no one wants to go through that. That's a club no one wants to join. But I always know that that's a highly evolved soul, and we can learn from them as we help them get through these experiences. And it's only by forgiveness that you can guarantee that you won't have to come back to school here again and repeat the lesson. So do it now. Take care of it now while you can.
Yeah, I love that, Suzanne. And one thing that comes up for me in this is self-forgiveness. You know, I work in the field of addiction recovery, and I feel so blessed to be working with the angels, you know, the angels that are coming through addiction, whether that's trauma early in life or a strong sense of shame or this sense of spiritual disconnection. To me, those are the three root causes of addiction. That's actually what I'm writing about in my second book.
Wonderful.
And knowing that, you know, these highly evolved beings do come in and choose that for whatever reason, these really dense, as Eckhart Tolle say, you know, the dense pain bodies, and often enlightened
yes.
beings had very, very dense pain bodies. I mean, I came in with so much, well, I don't know, I didn't come in with so much ego, but I developed a very, very, very dense ego, and, you know, believed that that's who I was. So can we talk a little bit about self-forgiveness?
Yeah, well, you know what? That is the toughest of all. If you want to live a life of satisfaction and feeling that you're in tune and attuned to the divine source, it starts with you and it starts inside. If there's a part of you that holds back, I'm not good enough, or a part of you that fears they're going to discover I'm not good enough, then you won't have the experience that you came here to have. And it's about what you're doing now, your thoughts, words, actions now, not about yesterday. No matter what you feel you've done wrong in your life, the Creator never turns his back on a soul. There's always the opportunity to move forward. Let go, move forward.
Yeah.
You're not alone. No one's ever alone.
Absolutely. You know, to me, self-forgiveness is really just coming back into alignment, because it's only my ego that judges it anyway. There's something wrong with me. I can't believe I did that. I'm broken in some way. So really the spiritual journey for me is about returning to that place that we recognize our wholeness and our perfection. And from that place, I feel like compassion, as you said, is a natural expression of that. I love Pema Chodron's quote, when compassion is not a relationship between the healer and wounded, but between two equals.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Between two equals. That's right.
Yeah. And believe it or not, we're coming kind of toward the end. We have still a few minutes. Is there anything that either you want to talk about or that has come through for you as an important message for our last few minutes of conversation, or any topic that you feel is important we talk about right in this moment?
I know right now there is someone listening that feels that God has forsaken them, that they're completely alone. They can't go on. And I want to tell that person, you're never alone. You are loved, guided, and supported by a Creator who loves you very much, and by an invisible team of guides, angels, and loved ones, even ancestors that you haven't met yet, that are in the dead community, that are following your story, just like it's on TV. And they're trying to give you gentle nudges and encouragement. Pay attention to those signs. Pay attention to your higher self, those gut instincts. You know that you're worthy. You are God. God is within you. Don't give up. Don't quit your life. Stay in the life that you're in and go forward boldly, and things will get better. I promise you.
Yeah, and the more that we connect with and know that essential self, and the more we cultivate that relationship with our essential nature, or God, or source, or love, whatever we call that, the more I'm able to be present with that and know that's the truth of who and what I am, then everything becomes possible. You know, there's really only limitation in my mind. It's only my beliefs and ideas. You know, I have a section in my book, Conscious Being, called The Opinion Trap. And we live in a culture so fascinated with opinion. You know, we have entire businesses and websites and television shows devoted to opinions back and forth and back and forth. And it keeps us locked in this sense of duality. I don't know why that just came through for me to talk about opinions, but my freedom is in direct proportion to me letting go of needing to know or having to be right.
It's about trust. Faith is stepping off of the mountain and praying for God to show you the path beneath your feet. Trust is stepping off the mountain and knowing either you will find the path or you will learn to fly. And that's what it takes, is just knowing that there is a divine plan, that no matter what happens, everything will be all right. And this is a temporary pit stop, this life. You'll be going home.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Suzanne. So, believe it or not, we really are out of time. I'm
Okay.
wondering if, for our last minute or so, if you could look right into your camera and let people
Okay.
know how to find you, and if you know about your new book and the name of it, anything you want to share with our viewers.
I'm Susanne Wilson, the Carefree Medium. My website is carefreemedium.com. And the book is Soul Smart: What the Dead Teach About Spirit Communication. And the Dead community is looking forward to your reading it and applying their information so that you can know absolutely and positively that you are loved and never alone.
Wow, what a beautiful message, Suzanne. Thank you so much for being with us. And
Thank
for
you.
anyone who is listening, watching, wherever you are in the world, just know that what Suzanne has said is the ultimate truth, that you are absolutely one with God, one with Source, one with love, and that there are so many beings around us, within us, swirling all around us that know that know the ultimate truth of who and what you are and who and what we are. It is now the moment. It is now time. We have reached a place in consciousness on this planet, and you are a part of that. What's happening in this moment is the ultimate surrender, and the ultimate surrender is knowing that you are God. You are love. You are Source. When we make that surrender, everything else opens up in our life. We can tap into a greater reality than we ever knew was possible. It happens right in this moment simply by tuning in to this great reality. Thank you so much for tuning in. For more information about me and my work, please visit tjwoodward.com. Again, if you're in the San Francisco area, please join us at Awakened Living. You can find us online at awakenedlivingsf.org. Thank you so much for being you. Thank you so much, and good night.